we need to find some compositions here. F of x equals 7 divided by x, g of x equals x divided by x plus 7. We need to find f of g of x. So that means we take the f function and we put g of x into the f function. So we have f of g of x. So we're going to take the f function and plug into it x over x plus 7. So it's the right function plugged in to the left function. So what that means is that we look at the f, and where the x is right here, we're going to put g of x. So instead of 7 over x, we have 7 over x plus 7. So this is a complex fraction. We can simplify it by inverting and multiplying. The 7 multiplies times x plus 7, so we have 7x plus 49 divided by x. So that is the composition. The domain of the composition is the allowable x values. And you can see from the denominator that we wouldn't want x to be 0. Division by 0 is undefined. However, we reach this composition by going through g of x. So we have to look at g of x's denominator also. And we see that x cannot be negative 7 either. So to get to our new composition, we had to go through g of x. So we cannot allow x values to be in the domain that did not work in g of x. Now we have the other composition, g composite f of x. So we're going to take the g function and plug f of x into it. That means we take g and plug in 7 over x wherever there's an x. So we're going to go up here to g and put a 7 over x in these two places where there's an x. So we have a 7 over x in the numerator and a 7 over x plus 7 in the denominator. So that's the composition. We just have to simplify it. We can do that by multiplying by x over x. So each term will multiply times this x. So all three terms multiply by that x. So we have a 7x times x, a 7 over x times x rather, a 7 over x times x in the denominator, plus a 7 times x. That gives us 7 over 7 plus 7x. So that's our composition, and now we look at the domain of the composition. So once more, we don't want the denominator to be 0, so we'll say that 7 plus 7 over x must not equal 0. So 7x must not equal negative 7, and x must not be negative 1. However, we arrived at this composition by going through f of x, and that means we have to look at the f of x here, the 7 over x, and we can't plug in x's that aren't allowed there either. So that means the x cannot be 0. So x cannot be 0 or negative 1. Let's look at the f composite f and g composite g. So f composite f of x, that means we're going to take the f function and plug f in wherever there's an x. So we're plugging 7 over x into the f function where there was an x. So instead of 7 over x, I have 7 over x. So we just replace the x with 7 over x. We can simplify by inverting and multiplying. So 7 times x over 7, so that's x. The domain of f composite f would be all real numbers if it was just the function f, if it was just the function x. But we arrived at that x by going through 7 over x, and so we have to exclude 0 from the domain so that we're not plugging in 0 for x into the f function and then plugging that result in. Let's go ahead and look at g composite g of x. So g composite g of x, we're taking g and plugging g of x into it. So we're taking g and plugging in, let's see, what was that function? X over x plus 7. So where each x is, we're plugging in an x over x plus 7. So in the numerator there's x over x plus 7. In the denominator there's an x over x plus 7, and then in the denominator there's also a plus 7. So this is our composition. We can go ahead and multiply each term by x plus 7 to simplify the complex fraction. So each term multiplies by x plus 7, all three terms. So we have x over x plus 7 times x plus 7, x over x plus 7 in the denominator times x plus 7, plus 7 times x plus 7. So x over x plus 7 times x plus 7 gives just x. So the x plus 7's cancel. And then we have a 7 times x plus 7, so 7x plus 49. So the composition is x over 8x plus 49. The domain is the allowable x values, so we don't want the 8x plus 49 to be 0. So we'll say 8x plus 49 is not 0. That means 8x is not negative 49, and x must not be negative 49/8. Now we arrived at that composition by going through g of x, and so that means the x can't be negative 7 either, because you can't plug negative 7 into g of x. So composition, you're just plugging the right function into the left function wherever there is an x.